Duck and the Diesel Engine by the Reverend W. Awdry, with illustrations by John T. Kenny.
Dear friends, we have had 2 visitors to our railway. One of these, City of Truro, is a very famous engine. We were sorry, but we had to say goodbye to him. The other visitor was different. I do not believe, writes the Fat Controller, that all diesels are troublesome, but this one upset our engines and made Duck very unhappy. Signed, the author.
Domeless Engines. A special train arrived one day, and the Fat Controller welcomed the passengers. They looked at everything in the yard and photographed the engines. Duck's driver let some of them ride in his cab. "They're the Railway Society," his driver explained. "They've come to see us. Their engine's City of Truro. He was the first to go 100 miles an hour. Let's get finished, then we can go and talk to him." "Oh," said Duck, awed. "He's too famous to notice me." "Rubbish," smiled his driver. "Come on." Duck found City of Truro at the coaling stage. "May I talk to you?" he asked shyly. "Of course," smiled the famous engine. "I see you are one of us." "I try to teach him our ways," said Duck modestly. "All shipshape and Swindon fashion. That's right." "Please, could you tell me how you beat the Southwestern?" So City of Truro told Duck all about his famous run from Plymouth to Bristol more than 50 years ago. They were soon firm friends and talked Great Western till late at night. City of Truro left early next morning. "Good riddance," grumbled Gordon. "Chattering all night, keeping important engines awake. Who is he, anyway?" "He's City of Truro. He's famous." "As famous as me? Nonsense!" "He's famouser than you. He went 100 miles an hour before you had drawn or thought of." "So he says, but I didn't like his looks." "He's got no dome," said Gordon darkly. "Never trust domeless engines. They aren't respectable." "I never boast," Gordon continued modestly, "but 100 miles an hour would be easy for me. Goodbye." Presently, Duck took some trucks to Edward's station. He was cross, and it was lucky for those trucks that they tried no tricks. "Hello," called Edward. "The famous City of Truro came through this morning. He whistled to me. Wasn't he kind?" "He's the finest engine in the world," said Duck, and he told Edward about City of Truro and what Gordon had said. "Don't take any notice," soothed Edward. "He's just jealous. He thinks no engine should be famous but him. Look, he's coming now." Gordon's boiler seemed to have swollen larger than ever. He was running very fast. He swayed up and down and from side to side as his wheels pounded the rails. "He did it, I'll do it! He did it, I'll do it!" he panted. His train rocketed past and was gone. Edward chuckled and winked at Duck. "Gordon's trying to do a City of Truro," he said. Duck was still cross. "I should think he'll knock himself to bits," he snorted. "I heard something rattle as he went through." Gordon's driver eased him off. "Steady, boy," he said. "We aren't running a race." "We are, then," said Gordon, but he said it to himself. "I've never known him ride so roughly before," remarked his driver. His fireman grabbed the brake handle to steady himself. "He's giving himself a hammering, and no mistake." Soon Gordon began to feel a little queer. "The top of my boiler seems funny," he thought. "It's as if something was loose. I'd better go slower." But by then, it was too late. They met the wind on the viaduct. It wasn't just a gentle wind, nor was it a hard, steady wind. It was a teasing wind, which blew suddenly in hard puffs and caught you unawares. Gordon thought it wanted to push him off the bridge. "No, you don't," he said firmly. But the wind had other ideas. It curled round his boiler, crept under his loose dome, and lifted it off and away into the valley below. It fell on the rocks with a clang. Gordon was most uncomfortable. He felt cold where his dome wasn't, And besides, people laughed at him as he passed. At the big station, he tried to wish them all away, but they crowded round no matter what he did. On the way back, he wanted his driver to stop and find his dome, and was very cross when he wouldn't. He hoped the shed would be empty, but all the engines were there waiting. "Never trust domeless engines," said a voice. "They aren't respectable." Pop goes the Diesel. City of Truro's visit made Duck very proud of being Great Western. He talked endlessly about it, but he worked hard, too, and made everything go like clockwork. The trucks behaved well, the coaches were ready on time, and the passengers even stopped grumbling. But the engines didn't like having to bustle about. "There are two ways of doing this," Duck told them. "The Great Western way, or the wrong way. I'm Great Western and—"
"Don't we know it?"
they groaned. They were glad when a visitor came. The visitor purred smoothly towards them. The fat controller climbed down. "Here is Diesel," he said. "I have agreed to give him a trial. He needs to learn. Please teach him, Duck."
"Good morning," purred Diesel in an oily voice. "Pleased to meet you, Duck. Is that James? And Henry? Oh, and Gordon, too. Oh, I am delighted to meet such famous engines."
The silly engines were flattered. "He has very good manners," they murmured. "We are pleased to have him in our yard." Duck had his doubts. "Come on," he said shortly.
"Ah, yes," Diesel said. "The yard, of course. Excuse me, engines."
And he purred after Duck, talking hard.
"You're worthy, fat—"
"Sir Topham Hatt to you," ordered Duck.
Diesel looked hurt. "Your worthy Sir Topham Hatt thinks I need to learn. He is mistaken. We Diesels don't need to learn. We know everything. We come to a yard and improve it. We are revolutionary."
"Oh," said Duck. "If you're ever thingamy, perhaps you would collect more trucks while I fetch Gordon's coaches." Diesel, delighted to show off, purred away. With much banging and clashing, he collected a row of trucks. Duck left Gordon's coaches in the station and came back. Diesel was now trying to take some trucks from a siding nearby. They were old and empty. Clearly they had not been touched for a long time. The brakes would not come off properly. Diesel found them hard to move. Pull, push, backwards, forwards. "Ow! Ow!" The trucks groaned. "We can't! We won't!" Duck watched the operation with interest. Diesel lost patience. He roared and gave a great heave. The trucks jerked forward. "Oh yeah! Oh yeah!" they screamed. "We can't! We won't!" Some of their brakes broke, and the gear hanging down bumped on the rails and sleepers. "We can't! We won't! Ah!" Their trailing brakes caught in the points and locked themselves solid. Roared Diesel. A rusty coupling broke, and he shot forward suddenly by himself. "Ho, ho, ho!" chuckled Duck. Diesel recovered and tried to push the trucks back, but they wouldn't move, and he had to give up. Duck ran quietly round to where the other trucks all stood in line. "Thank you for arranging these, Diesel," he said. "I must go now."
"Don't you want this lot?"
"No, thank you." Diesel gulped.
"And I've taken all this trouble," he almost shrieked. "Why didn't you tell me?"
"You never asked me. Besides," said Duck innocently, "you were having such fun being whatever it was you said. Goodbye." Diesel had to help the workmen clear the mess. He hated it. All the trucks and coaches were laughing. Presently he heard them sing. Their song grew louder and louder, and soon it echoed through the yard. Trucks are waiting in the yard, tackling them with easel. Show the world what I can do, gaily boasts the diesel. In and out he creeps about like a big black weasel. When he pulls the wrong trucks out, pop goes the diesel. He growled, and scuttling away, sulked in the shed.